Hey there, this is Tasha, and today I'm going to show you how to use my March planner inserts. I have them printed out here front and back. When you print these out, it's going to look like they're all out of order. That's because these are in booklet style, so when we fold these in half or cut them in half, you'll see that all of the weekly and monthly pages do actually line up. Before we get too far along here, I want to apologize for the quality of this video. I am by no means a professional YouTuber, so I did the best with what I have. Hopefully this is still helpful for anybody who has never made their own planner inserts before. So for a traveler's notebook, you would fold the pages in half, and I would probably just staple these down the center instead of trying to bind them. It's only 3 pages, so it's really a thin stack of papers. And then once you get this folded in half and flip through, you'll see that the monthly spreads line up and the weekly spreads line up. If you're not familiar with what a traveler's notebook is, it's basically just this outer shell, and it has rubber bands in the center of it for you to add in notebooks. And then that way you can take them out as you use them, put new ones in. It's really my favorite system for planning. Now, if you do prefer a ring-bound planner, you could easily, instead of folding these in half, just cut them in half. And it's really the same principle. The pages are going to be in the right order. What you'll see me do here is take the page and flip it over and then cut it. And I'm doing that so I'll keep the pages in order. I'm starting with the center pages or the very last page. Then I'm going to flip it over and cut it in half. And then I'll spread the pages to either side of the cutting board, so I can keep the pages in order as I cut. Hopefully having this visual will explain that a little bit better. Again, I'm flipping the page over, cutting it right down the center. Now once you have them cut, which actually you probably could have cut all of these together since it's only 3 pages, depending on the kind of cutter you have. But I'm going to take the one stack from the right and the stack from the left and put them together where it forms the booklet. And I can see as you flip through it, you're going to have your monthly pages together and your weekly pages. So from there you could go and punch holes in it for a 6-ring binder, or if you have a happy planner that you like to use and you have a hole punch for that, you could punch holes in it for that planner. I just have this Carpe Diem A5 notebook here, and I punched holes, and that's what it looks like. I hope that was helpful for those of you who've never printed your own inserts before, and explained better how to get these in the correct order without a lot of trouble. Now from here I want to move on to the fun stuff, which is actually planning. If you've never used a bullet journal before or done this style of planning, you might be kind of confused by this monthly page, but this is what our monthly layout looks like in a traditional bullet journal. It's a linear type of calendar. So on the left side of the page, you'll see the numbers 1 through 31 with a letter beside it, and that is your date and the day of the week that falls on that date. My monthly spread here has enough room for 3 categories. I like to split mine into morning, afternoon, and then all day. But this section right here where I put all day, you could really use that as a habit tracker if you want. Some other examples of categories you might use might be business, personal, and home. That's the categories I use when I break these down into my weekly spread, which I'll show you in a minute. But really the possibilities are endless. You can customize this to whatever you need. What I'm doing now is I'm looking at my iCal. I keep all of my future events in my iCal app. It helps me to coordinate with my husband and keep our schedules in sync, and so that's where I keep mine. But I'll go in each month and look at what's on our calendar and write it in here. The circle that I'm using here in front of the time and the event is really just a symbol that indicates that it is an event. You could use whatever you wanted, but that's what I'm used to using. And then once I go to that event or have been there, I will put a little check mark in it. I'm only putting in events right now, but you could certainly use this as a place to put things that are due on a certain day, if you want to treat it as a task. And you would use a different symbol for that. I would use a dot. Most of the things that I add in the all day category, I use a dash because it's more just like a note. Now that I have all my appointments and events filled in, I'm going to move over to my monthly goals and tasks. This is where I am going to put in the things that I want to accomplish this month. Now, this is not really the place that I would break down those goals. That would be more for the weekly spreads. So, for example, I have to write our post-adoption report this month, and so that's going to probably be broken down into a couple of different tasks, including filling out a questionnaire, formatting, gathering pictures, that kind of thing. So basically you just want to think of this as an overview of your month, and I find this really helpful. It keeps me on track. Without this, I basically kind of just flounder around and don't get anything accomplished. So now I'm just going to go back in and I'm going to kind of highlight my categories at the top to add a little bit of color. I'm using these Tombow dual brush pens. They're kind of like a watercolor marker. I'm just going to use this gray to add a little pop to my categories at the top. I'm going to come back in a little bit later and color in those headers and add some more color and make it prettier. So now that we have our monthly spread done, I'm going to move on to my weekly spread, and I'm going to use the monthly spread that I just did to fill in this weekly. So my categories for weekly generally consist of work, personal, and home. Now, instead of looking at this vertically like the monthly, these go across the page horizontally. So you'll have your date, the day of the week, and you will put in your appointments and your events and your task across the day. Again, I'm using circles for the events and appointments. I've also included a spot here for you to plan your menu for the week. I use this only for dinner, and I did not want to think about it right then, so I am not going to fill it out right now, but there's room for 7 meals, and I just go through and mark them off as I make them. Now I'm going to fill in my weekly goals based off of my monthly goals and also what's going on this week. So I have a birthday party this weekend, so I'm going to have to buy birthday gifts. So that needs to go in my task list. I didn't put it in a specific day because it doesn't really matter what day I do it, just as long as it gets done. I kind of use this spread as a weekly and daily hybrid. So because I don't use daily spreads, I just work out of this weekly. So I'll go in and add things all throughout the week. So I will probably end up adding that birthday gift as a task to a specific day, but I'm going to wait and see what I have going on the rest of the week and put it in there according to that. But I do know I like planning on Sunday and I go grocery shopping on Monday, so those go into a specific day. Again, I really like having this split into 3 different categories. It helps me stay organized as a work-at-home mom. If you don't work at home, you can easily adapt this for your personal schedule. Perhaps instead of there being a work category and a personal and a home category, maybe you have your kids' individual schedules, or maybe you only use it for work and you have different things that you have to accomplish at work. It's one of the things I really like about this is they are easy to customize. I hope that was helpful, and please do not hesitate to send me an email with any questions that you have. Now that we have the planning out of the way, I'm going to show you guys how I use these coloring pages that are in my inserts. I like to use these as a way to decompress, de-stress. You probably noticed while we were planning that this is the set of inserts that has the scripture memory verses on them. And each one of those verses has a couple of words that you can also color in, and that's just to add a couple of pops of color and help you to commit those verses to memory. I do have a set of inserts that do not have the scripture. If you would rather have the extra space, or you're just not somebody who is interested in memorizing scripture. I'm going to be using my Tombow dual brush pens to color this in because I like the watercolor effect that they have. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of the pastel colors, and a lot of them are just way too pigmented for what I want to accomplish. So what I'm doing here is I am using the clear marker that came with my Tombow markers, and I'm going to color with the marker on a slick surface. So I'm just going to use my cutter here because I had it handy and it's a slick surface. So I'm just going to mark on there with the really bright color, and then I'm going to use that clear marker to pick up some of the color and color onto the page, and it just makes the colors lighter, more pastel. If I were using that dark red on this page, then it wouldn't give me that pastel effect that I'm going for. So I'm just going to continue using that technique. I'm going to put on some music and finish out this coloring page. In the description below, I'll link to the markers, the type of paper that I'm using, although I'm not 100% satisfied with this paper. There's a lot of ghosting and a little bit of bleed through with these markers, so it's not been my favorite. But I will go ahead and link to all of that stuff below. I'll also link to my favorite paper that I've used so far for this. I hope that this was helpful for you. Please go ahead and send me a message if you have any questions. These inserts are available for sale on my website, and I'll link to that also. Thanks for watching.